Release the Kraken!
Good evening, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios. And today we're going to be looking at setting up the joints for the elf. Now, if you haven't looked at the introduction to joints and skinning videos, and this is your first time ever dealing with joints, I recommend going back and checking out the tutorials on the joint basics and skinning basics, because without that, you're going to be lost. And definitely recommend checking those out. But without further ado, let's jump in. So let's set this up to deal with joints. First thing, I'm going to go to my rigging tab. Make sure that my drop down here is also set to rigging. And then I want to make sure I have under shading, we have X-ray joints. Now we're going to have to do that for every panel that we're in, so just so you're aware. Go ahead and hit spacebar and go into my front view. Let's get shading. We'll do X-ray joints. I'll hit 6 to bring up my color. Good enough. Now I have my joint selection tool. It's here. Remember, that's the one between the star. This is our locator, and this is the IK tool. You want the joint tool. Grab that. Open up your joint toolbar or your toolkit by hitting the hammer over here. And let's just see how big the joints are going to be when I place them. So I'll put one here. Pretty good. So I have my short bone radius set to 2 and my long bone radius also set to 2. That's the radius, not the length. So that's a good size. And then for my orientation options, I'm going to do X, Y, Y. We might change it later, but this is usually what I default to. This makes it so that X is down the length of the bone, and then we have Y should be to the left of the bone, with Z pointing forward. Let's go ahead and start placing our joints. I find it easier to actually place joints in a wireframe. So the first one is going to be our root joint. That's going to come down here at the very, very bottom. Kind of click that, add it in. Come up to the pelvis, right around here. You can do lower if you need to, but I usually try to go for the middle of the mass, so right about there. If you hold down the shift key, it'll lock the joints. You see how the joint's kind of floating off? If I hold shift, it's locked to the axis, which is good because you want these to be centered. Okay, so the next one, this is going to be spine 1. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to click right above the belt. It's probably good. Spine 2. Let's see, where are we at in the chest? Spine 3 is going to be about here. And then I'm going to go up to the neck. So start the neck right around there. For the next couple joints, I'm going to go to my side view. So hit spacebar, side view, go into wireframe, and also do X-ray joints. So here we are in our chain. I'm going to put the next neck joint. You can have as many neck joints as you want. There's no rule here. This will be for the starting of the head, so just at the base of the chin here. Now I'm not holding shift in this case. I'm just going to like free float in this one, right about there. And the last one I'm going to do for the top of the head, right about there. You can go straight up, it's up to you. I'm going to hold shift and just kind of snap it straight. This last joint doesn't really matter, just so long as it's centrally zoned. We will need joints for the eyes as well. So I'm going to hit enter. Before I add any extra joints, let's make sure that this is set up correctly. So in the body, we want to make sure that this fills pretty much the center of mass, but has some natural curve. The natural curve is going to allow us to bend it easier later when we try to rig it. So I'm going to grab this joint here. It's going to be the top of the neck. Now whenever I move a joint, it's going to move all of the children of that joint. So this one's the parent. Anything after it is the child. If I move it, it moves the entire chain. Okay? Just be aware of that. So if you don't want to move the whole chain, you can press the D key. Press it once. It'll give you the movement widget, and you can just move that back. That's going to give me some centering. I'm going to go down the chain here. Center this up. Again, keeping some curvature because I want this to be easy to flex later on. Now you don't need to go all the way to like the spine. That's how the normal body works, but for this we want the maximum amount of influence. So I'm just going to go a little off center, just so I can get some curvature. Move that one just a little bit. And then the pelvis, this is where the legs are going to connect to. It's going to move that one back just a little bit. And then the root should be center at 0, 0. I'm going to hold down the X key. And I'm just going to snap that to 0. I'm going to go into my front view. I will also snap that to 0. So going back up the chain, I want to make sure these are all center. They should be because we did that already. But I'm going to hold down the X key. Just kind of snap to the center. Hold X, snap to the center. Snap to the center, snap to the center. If you don't do this, you're going to have a problem later on, so make sure that you do. Because when we mirror our joints, we want to make sure that everything's even in the middle. Okay? I get my joint tool back. You can also press Y to restart the tool. I'm going to do the leg first. So I'll go up here to the hip. Right about there is good. I'm going to hold down the Shift key. Click. This one's going to go about right where the knee is. Hold down the Shift key. Get out of the foot. Click. That one's good. I'll press Enter. So as you can see, our joint chain is straight, but our leg is bent. We're going to have to fix that because we don't want to bend the joint. We don't want to mess with the joint chain and set it off center. That's going to make rigging a pain. So keeping this straight as possible is going to be the best way. I could try to move this out, but you see what happens. It's going to be off the mesh. So what we're going to do is move the mesh to accommodate the joints. Let's finish this structure. So I'm going to go in to the side view. I'm going to grab this bottom joint. This is going to be my ankle. So I'm going to pull that up to where the ankle is. The knee joint, same deal. I'm going to make sure it is right about where the knee is going to be. Again, you can press the D key. That'll let you move the joint by itself. I'm going to put that right where the bend of the knee is. Grab that, that hip joint. I'm going to move that back just a little bit to get some curvature. This will help us bend this leg later. I know what you're thinking. Why do we need this bent here but straight here? We want it to be straight from the front view. If we don't have it straight here, it'll bend off to the side, which is going to be a problem. So, okay, so next joint in the chain, I'm going to go ahead and place it right about here where the foot's going to bend. And then one at the end for the toe. Now this one doesn't have to be, perfectly where the toe is. It doesn't have to be up or anything like that. But right on the ground, I can hold Shift and keep that nice and straight and drop it there. Press Enter. And then I want to connect this to the ankle. So to do that, I'll select the foot joint, hold Shift, select the ankle joint, press the P key, and that'll connect the joints together. Here's that chain, nice and pretty. I'm going to go ahead and do this arm joint. Now as you come to our front view, you'll see that our foot is actually off center. The reason for that is when we set it up here, joints always snap to the center of the grid. If you did the video previous to that, you'll remember. So that means we just have to select this joint, go into our front view, and we can align this. I'm going to hold down the V key, and I drag the arrow, and I'm going to move my mouse up to that joint. Now as I do, you'll see it snaps kind of straight, because what this is doing is snapping to the vertex. If I move here to that vertex, it snaps there. But I'm going to move to the middle of the joint here, and it'll snap to that. Okay. That should be good and straight. Okay. Let's go up to the arm. Get my joint tool. I'm going to set the collarbone right about here. I'm going to take the shoulder joint, I'm going to move that out to where the beginning of the arm is, right about there. Moving out, I'm going to go to a top view. Again, we'll do X-ray joints, and I'll press 4 so I can see the wireframe. We hit this toolbar so I can get that out of the way. And you can see the natural bend in the elbow. So I want to move out to here where the elbow is, right about there. Come down to where the wrist is, right about there. Need a joint for the hand. Go ahead and hit enter. And you can see this is not quite centered up. So I'm going to grab this joint here. This is a shoulder joint. Press the D key. I'm going to move it back just a little bit. Take a look at this collarbone joint. Move that back a little bit. Let's check our side view. Okay, let's go to our front view. You can see how the arm kind of curves. Not something that I want. We really want this to be very straight. So we'll have to adjust the arm as well. Now if I go to the top of the hand, you can see my fingers, my hand kind of tilts this way. We might want to bend the hand forward to kind of help the joints. Let's go ahead and name these real quick, starting with all the way down at the bottom. And name this one root, because that's our root joint. Next one up, this one right around the pelvis is called the pelvis. You can press up and down on the arrow keys to move to the next joint. This one is spine 1. Next one in the chain is spine 2. Spine 3. Neck. This next one up, you can call this one head, and then head 2. All right. The first joint in the arm is called the collarbone, but we have, unlike the spine joint where everything's in the center, these are off to the left or to the right. I'm going to call this one, since this is his left, so it's my right, right? But it's actually his left. So if I go into here, remember he's facing like a mirror, right? This is his left. If I turn him this way so we're lined up together, right? This is our right, this is our left. This is his left, this is his right, right? So this is going to be whatever side it is, plus the name of the joint. So this is going to be L. You can do L or left, it's up to you. I'll do L underscore, and then collar. Next one down, this is L underscore shoulder. Next one down, L underscore elbow. Next one down, this is L underscore wrist. And then L underscore hand. Let's go to the leg. Grab my joint tool. This is left, so L underscore hip. L underscore knee. It's kind of like that game you play in like first grade, or was it kindergarten? Heads and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. This is L underscore ankle. L underscore, you can call this one foot or ball, because this is the ball of the foot, but I usually call it foot, so that's just me. And then L underscore toe. Okay, everything's named. Let's go ahead and save it. All right, so we have that. Let's go ahead and mirror these across. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to select the top of the spine right here, so that's spine 3. Press the P key. That way it's attached. Select the joint, go up to skeleton, come down to mirror joints, hit the options box. If your character is facing down the z-axis, you can see my character is facing down z, and the middle of him is on the x. So I should be in what's called the YZ plane. So YZ, that's the center plane here. So I'm choosing YZ. If you're facing this way, where you're facing down the x, you might be in, XZ. If you're facing this way, or vice versa, it can be whichever plane you're looking down. But I'm going to be in YZ. We're going to have in the search box, we're going to look for L underscore, because that's our prefix. We're going to replace it with R underscore, because that's what the other side is going to be, the right side. You have a choice for orientation or behavior. If you've looked at the introduction to joints, you'll understand what those are. Behavior will mimic the type of behavior that the joint's going to do, whereas orientation is going to mimic the orientation. I'm going to use orientation in this case and hit apply. Do the same thing for the hip. I'm going to grab the hip, go ahead and hit apply. It'll mirror it over. Go ahead and close that. I'm going to select the hips and then shift select the pelvis, press the P key. Now that's attached. Hey, we have our skeleton. Alright, so save your work. In the next one we will clean up our skin here and we'll put together the hand, okay? And I will see you next time.